Back in the days of vinyl, a DJ would have to add another piece of hardware outside of the normal 2 turntables and mixer in order to add effects to their setup. Now, every DJ software in the market comes with a plethora of effects that can be used in a simple press of a button or click of the mouse. With the number of effects at a DJ's fingertips now, it can be intimidating or confusing to new DJs to know which effects they should learn and how to use them. Using different effects can add creativity to your set, and every DJ has their favorites, but it's good to learn the ins and outs of a couple essential effects that can be used in a lot of different situations. So in this video, we'll go through 3 essential effects and show you a couple of examples of how you can start using them in your DJ sets. And if you're interested in more tips and tricks videos just like this one, make sure you subscribe to this channel. But now, let's get into 3 essential effects that every DJ should learn. The most common filter you will find on DJ controllers and mixers is the high-pass, low-pass filter. This is actually 2 effects combined into one and allows DJs to remove certain frequencies from a track. Turn the knob to the left, you'll cut the highs. Turn the knobs to the right, and you'll cut the lows. The filter is a fun tool to use for transitions. Instead of using the low EQ to cut the bass of a track, try using the filter instead. It can give you a similar effect, but gives a different sound than using the EQ. The filter is a fun tool to use for transitions. Instead of using just the low EQ to cut the bass of a track, try using the filter instead. It can give you a similar effect, but it gives you a different sound than just using the EQ. So now let me show you an example of that. So now let me show you what it sounds like using the low EQ instead, just so you can hear the difference. You can also use the filter to help build some tension and drama into your sets. You've probably heard DJs use the filter to make the track sound like it's building up, sort of like this. It's a good tool to use, especially during extended buildups or breakdowns. The echo or delay is an effect that will replay a section of a song over and over and slowly fade it out as well. It's a tool that I use to emphasize popular or recognizable parts of a song or at the end of a transition. I find myself using the echo or delay during familiar parts of a song to make it sound bigger than if I were just to play it by itself. It's an easy way to draw attention to a section of a track without it sounding too overbearing to the crowd. If I am playing a song with vocals, it's a good way to highlight memorable lines, or during a song without vocals, it's a great way to highlight part of a melody. I find myself using the echo or delay during a familiar part of a song to make it sound bigger than if I were to just play it by itself. It's an easy way to draw attention to a section of a track without it sounding too overbearing to the crowd. If I'm playing a song with vocals, it's a good way to highlight memorable lines, or during a song without vocals, it's a great way to highlight part of a melody. So now let me show you an example of that. So right here in the first effects slot for deck 1, I have the delay, and I'm going to set it to about 40% or so. And then I'll have the track playing, then I'll drop the delay in at certain parts of the track to kind of highlight those sections. So here we go. And because this controller has what's called post-fader effects, I can have the effects engaged and then drop the fader and the effect will still keep trailing on. So something like this. And you can still hear it kind of rolling on. It's a great thing to have on your controller that you might want to check to see if your DJ hardware does support. Now for many DJs, the delay or echo have become favorites over the past few years as a way to finish a transition. You can use it to make transitions sound smoother by repeating the end of a section you would transition out of and it cleanly fading out. I like doing this echo or delay at a half beat or of one full beat in these situations. So let me show you an example of that. So I'll have deck 1 playing, then I'll start mixing in deck 2, then I'll use the delay that's here on effect slot 1 to finish the transition and make it sound as clean as possible. So for this example, I'll have my delay set to 1 beat, just to give you an idea. Again, because that delay just kind of trails off on its own and I can cut the fader, it sounds really clean and just sounds so much more professional in certain situations than just slowly fading it out. It gives a really nice option to switch between the two. This effect is a great one to learn as it's so versatile. It's not as intrusive into your mix as the filter. I recommend trying it with the wet dry turned down to about 30 to 40% as you want to be able to hear it, but don't want it to sound too overpowering in your mix. Try playing around with it and you'll find a sweet spot for the way that you play. If you've ever yelled in a big empty hall or church and heard what almost sounds like an echo, you know what reverb sounds like. It adds some space and separation to the tracks you're playing, and much like the 2 other effects I've discussed, it can be used as a transition tool. Reverb is an effect that I like to use to highlight certain sounds in a track that I'm playing. It's fun to use on snares or claps to make them sound more epic. It's awesome to use during breakdowns or build-ups to make them sound more interesting, or as a way to let the crowd know a change is about to happen in the song, especially if you're playing dance music with big drops. Reverb is an effect that I like to use to highlight different sounds in a track that I'm playing. It's fun to use on snares or claps to make them sound more epic. It's awesome to use during breakdowns or build-ups to make them sound more interesting, or as a way to let the crowd know there's a change about to happen in the song, especially if you're playing dance music with big drops. So here's an example of that. The reverb is also a great way to transition to different tempos. Much like using the echo or delay, I like using the reverb at the end of a section I'm transitioning out of, but instead of going right into the track at the same time, I'll let the reverb kind of tail off, then drop into the track that's at a different tempo. The long tail of the reverb makes the end of the track sound less abrupt and makes for a more natural sounding place to drop a track that's at a completely different tempo. It will take a bit of practice to get the timing down right, but is a really useful tool once you do have it down. Now, let me show you an example of this technique. Effects are something that can add some nice elements to your set, but it is really easy to go overboard. Having a couple go-to effects that you understand how to use tastefully is much better than throwing on a bunch of effects that you aren't completely familiar with just because they're in your DJ software. So, get completely familiar with these 3 effects because they are very flexible and can be used in a lot of different situations. Make sure you take some time and practice with each of these at home before trying them at your gigs. And don't forget to get creative. Remember, these are just guidelines and these effects can be used in a variety of ways. So don't be afraid to experiment at home and figure out how you can use them to add to the way that you play. And now we'd like to ask, what are some of your favorite effects and how do you use them? Go ahead and leave that down in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And as always, if you enjoyed tips and tricks videos just like this one, make sure you subscribe to this channel. And now, get good, get out there, and make the moments.